everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 17 of Monster, and I couldn't wait. No way, nope, not after that last episode where we left off with Nina on top of a roof, looking at something. Now, I don't think Johan's on top of the roof. If he is, he's hiding. I think that he's left another message for her, or there's like a body there or something creepy that is waiting on her. I don't think that Johan is actually there. I think it's something to lure her there and try to get Tenma there at the same time. I could be wrong. That's the thing. This episode's really mysterious. I don't know. But I only really have one comment before we start that was made going into this that we were talking about in the Discord with this. But I'm really excited because we're at this stage of the story where things are escalating and getting heated up, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to know. I want to be surprised. So it's really exciting to see where the story is going to go to. So yeah. But anyway, this is kind of going back to episode 14, the episode with Lunge and Eva, this comment is. But Alex Cornejo, as well as Sack, S-A-K, we were talking in the Discord about, there's many in episode 14, many cheaters. There is Lunge, who essentially is cheating on his wife with work, and his work is cheating on him, and his wife is cheating on him. The work cheats on him as well, but you have that. You have Eva, who is, many of the suitors that come to visit her or end up marrying her are cheating on her as well, and she kind of gives him the boot. And then you have the gardener, who kind of cheats on his wife with Eva a bit, even though they're not officially divorced, and the wife comes back. So there's lots of affairs going on in episode 14. And Sack was noting that the mangaka, Naoki Urasawa, was actually going through an affair, possibly while creating Monster. So I was like, so that could be that idea of love and cheating. Love's not looked at in a very kind light in this series. And if that was true with the mangaka, that they were going through an affair while writing parts of this, I can't imagine why. So that's interesting that there is a little bit of art imitating life in this story, just a wee bit, right? Because a mangaka has to draw inspiration from somewhere, right? So I thought that was fascinating. We had a little talk about that in the Discord. The Discord's kind of super secret with Monster because nobody wants to spoil me, and I appreciate that a lot. I'm like, y'all can black box. You go on the Chainsaw Man channel, and it's just like black box, and I just like peeking occasionally, and I'm like, cool, everybody's alive, sweet. But in the Monster channel, it's almost like people are afraid to post things. Y'all can black box. You guys can talk. You're not gonna hurt my feelings talking in the black boxes. I just don't want to be spoiled. So y'all have fun. Have a field day. But, this episode, I woke up this morning and I was really excited. I'm like, I've got a few things to do, and then I'm going to sit down and we're going to watch Monster, and it's going to be fun. So, as fun as it can be, right? But yeah, it is frigid cold outside. I ended up actually having a snow day from work. Yay. So I'm home watching Monster instead. Like you do, right? Like you do. So we're going to get started, y'all, and just see what happens, right? But in any case, we're going to start Monster episode 17, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this. So we get resolution in this episode, which was very good, but man, I was really worried there in that climax that they weren't going to get that rug there in time, and that fire was just going to go crazy, and it was just going to destroy the town. That was my fear, right? That was my fear. So, 2 Johans. Okay. I don't know exactly how to feel about it, honestly. Obviously, I'm going to be saying some things in discussion. I don't want spoilers. I don't want things confirmed, deconfirmed. We're going to find out as we go. But I'm very curious because the split personality thing, for a second I was like, was there 2 Are they triplets? Are they, the thing with Johan having a split personality, I don't want to say, it gets a little delicate. With notions like that, right? Now, granted, this is Nina's take on it. Nina's take is that her brother has a split personality, that there are 2 Johans, right? That is Nina's take about it, right? Nina believes, and we'll kind of like bring Whiteboard Coon closer and say Nina's take from that message, because the message itself said the monster inside me is about to explode. Okay, and that is seemingly from Johan. Okay. Nina's take on that is that there are two Johans. There is Monster Johan, and there is her brother Johan. And that they are two separate entities. That is her take, that there are two separate entities. There's Monster Johan and there is brother Johan. Now, obviously, that there bipolar disorder, split personality, like those are things that, you know, the DSM recognizes. They are actual things. And I'm trying to tread delicately because I realize that I may have someone watching that has bipolar disorder or suffers from having, you know, multiple personality syndrome. And when I get a little nervous with storylines about this, because it's kind of like that movie Split that came out several years ago. One big criticism is that it kind of villainizes people that have those disorders that cannot control such things. And my fear is that I get a little wary when it's like, oh, he has a split personality, that's why he's villainous, because it makes people that have those disabilities out to be antagonistic, which is not the case with most people in real life. So it's a very delicate line to cross. But here's my thing. Nina is saying that this is why Johan, it is a reason, right? It is an excuse. She is saying that this is the reason that he is acting this way, right? This is the reason that he's acting this way. And that's her whole reasoning. And she's like, oh, well, my brother can't help the way that he is because he has a split personality. That's part of it. That's the reason, right? That she's trying to give her brother an out of why he's acting the way that he does. And a part of it is that, yeah, he's her brother. And he's her brother. She wants to love him. And so this is a way she can remove the monster from the man and say, oh, I know I like my brother Johan. It's the monster part of him that I don't like. But the thing of it is, and my theory is, he does not have a split personality. No. The monster and him are one and the same. And that I feel like one of the themes that's going to come out in this series is that everyone in the series has a monster inside of them. Everyone has that capability, has that ability to become the monster, and it's a fight between what do we do? Because just like she tells Dieter, she has the option. Everyone has the option to kill. And she tells Dieter to never do what she's about to do. But then it's a big cycle because Tenma, here's the cycle. You have Tenma telling her not to shoot, but then you're going to have Dieter tell Tenma not to shoot. So it's like, it's this big cycle, but it's this idea that humans have the capability to be a monster. That everyone has that inside of them. It's just, as Hugo said, it's whether or not you go there. Whether or not you take that initial step and you go there. Do you embrace that part of you or do you turn it away? There's one of those two things. And so now the monster in the the monster in the ED splitting into two halves. I don't want to know anything about the monster in the ED. I don't want to know anything about it. I know that the ED is going to evolve as we go. I was going to say this in the Discord, but I didn't. But someone shared a picture in the Discord of Johan, and there was the monster behind him. And I was going to say something like, please spoiler tag that, because I don't want to be influenced by how I think about the monster in the ED. But I didn't say anything because I don't want to be a negative Nancy. I was like, I'll just leave it be for now. But if people get a little too spoilery, I'll say something. But I don't want to know anything about the monster in the ED. And if you have any art you want to share in the Discord, please spoiler tag it, because I don't want to be influenced by any fan art that is out there, to be honest. But I do think everybody has that capability to be the monster. So I think that Johan, the monster and the Edie, is Johan splitting separate ways. But it might not be, because it's like, well, if the monster splits in two separate ways, where does it go? Where's the other one go? They're both the same person. So it could still be two people splitting in opposite ways, right? It could still be, one could be Tenma, one could be Johan, one could be Nina, one could be Johan. We'll see. But it's almost as if Nina is trying to make an excuse for her brother why he's acting the way that he is. And the bipolar disorder is the way for her to explain that. But again, it's a very delicate line. I don't like it very much, because I'm like, no, I think Johan is Johan. And this whole line, the monster inside me is about to explode. We don't know if that's just Johan being a creepy serial killer and being like, oh, I'm just giving this excuse. I think of Devil in the White City. It's a novel by Eric Larson. It's one of my favorite books, but it's about the first mass serial killer in the United States, which was H.H. Holmes during the World's Fair in the end of the 1800s. And Holmes was a character he's a real life person that, as he was being put on trial for murder, he embellished and made these grand stories about himself and made himself out to be this tragic figure when he had like murdered hundreds of women and children. And so, yeah, he very much was a serial killer that was trying to present himself as being like, this is just how I am. Like, there's been this monster inside of me. Kind of similar to Johan. A little bit. So, but the fact of the matter was, no, Holmes was the monster. He was just trying to make it seem like there were two Holmes. And I feel like Johan is trying to make this case for himself, like, oh, no, there's this monster in me that I can't control. And I'm like, is there? Or are you just making that as an excuse? I don't know. But I'm so curious, because Nina, she even attributes saying that there's like this monster line. Like, that's the only line he left for her. She derives a lot from that statement. She thinks that there's this sadness in him. She assumes there's this sadness in him, and there may very well be. There may very well be this sadness in Johan. I like the idea that Johan's character is more complex. I like that he's maybe not just a serial killer, that there is something to him. Maybe this relates to the whole of them crossing the border and their lives before they got to Germany, but then she doesn't remember anything, so where is she getting this from? So there's lots of things to think about with that, but also it is a way for her to justify her actions. She's like, well, my brother told me to shoot him in the head once before because he knew there was this other side to him. So I had to do it. And now I have to kill him because he's suffering. I need to end his suffering. Like, she's making excuses for herself to shoot him, to ease her own guilt and to make it not seem as bad that she is going to kill someone like he's killed others. So honestly, at this point in the story, it's fascinating because I love Nina's character and I love Tenma's character too. But the fact that they're kind of like, don't shoot anybody, but we have to. Like, it's fascinating. It's so interesting. And the fact that she took this one message and derived this whole story out of it is insanity. I'm so intrigued, right? I'm also intrigued that Johan did not show up in this episode or in any of this. The episode was called Reunion. It was mainly to reunite our four main characters at this point together, right? But Johan was only there in spirit. So what do we do about that? That's the fascinating thing, is what do we do? Johan was present, but we didn't see him. It's interesting, okay? But we need to actually, I've spent 10 minutes just talking about the intro here. This idea. Tenma deciding to save Calvin Street, to not go after Johan. Obviously the best move. I mean, narratively, it all makes sense because Nina got to this point to hear the message. That was the bookend moment. She saw the message and then she told Tenma about the message once they were like out. She told Tenma about the message once they were leaving the city. Like, it was a nice bookend from last episode to this one. It all narratively worked out great. But Tenma making the decision that the people of Calvin Street were more important than Johan. I'm so proud of Tenma, right? Because let's put Tenma on here. I've been worried about Tenma for a while. I've been worried that Tenma is getting too obsessed with Johan. He still is. But I've been worried that he's been getting more and more obsessed with Johan and killing him to the point where he's forgetting that he's a doctor, forgetting that he wants to help people, forgetting he wants to heal people. I've been worried that Tenma's been going down this darker and darker path, and he's straying too far away from the things that we've known about his character so far. But Tenma, he establishes two things here. One, he is still concerned with healing others. Even if he calls himself an ex-doctor, he still wants to help others and heal them, right? And he help the greater good in his mind, right? We'll put that in parentheses, in the quotation marks. But also, no one is hiring him to kill. You could take that one of two ways. One, he doesn't want to be associated with anyone when he kills Johan. He wants it to be by his volition and his volition alone. No one gave him the order. He did it because it was something he felt needed to happen. You've got that. But then also, kind of tied with that, it brings up the doubt that Tenma's going to kill him. Because, yeah, it's like, he's like, well, I'm going to be the one to decide when I kill Johan. It's like, are you going to kill Johan? Because I don't know. He doesn't. Tenma, I feel like, wants to wait till the very last second, kind of like what Nina did in this episode. Him and Nina were very similar. They wanted to wait till the last second. Nina was going to shoot that guy, though. She was ready to go. And when she told Dieter not to look, she's like, never do what I'm about to do. This is only because there's no other option. It's like, I mean, yeah, which you could always say there's other options, but for Nina, she's like, nope, this is do or die. And we're all going to die if we don't do something right now. And Tenma, when Tenma saved the guy from being shot by her, I was like, is he inadvertently? I had a theory of what was going to go down, and thank God it all worked out that Heckel got that rug. Heckel got that rug for a reason. I gave Heckel such a hard time in this episode because he was really making me angry. I was like, Heckel, why you got to get this damn rug? Why is it so important? But you know what? The stars aligned, and it was like fate led Heckel's selfishness and Dieter's selflessness like merged to form this perfect moment where Dieter's like, give me the damn rug, you thief, and used it to put out the fire. Like an 8-year-old boy being the bravest in the room. Just, Heckel. I gave Heckel a hard time because he deserved it. He got on my nerves so much this episode. I was like, what are you even doing? And then, yeah, Tenma just thinks back to Dieter being the one to say that the street's going to burn, the Turkish woman was killed. And yeah, the thing of it is that Tenma is very aware that Johan's actions, as well as his inaction, has led to these people dying and being put in danger. Now, the curious thing is, we talk about loose ends here. Talk about loose ends. Johan was in the city, but where is he now? What is his plan? So is Johan staying away from Tenma and them because he doesn't want the monster to come out? Or is it part of a trap? Is he just stringing them along like they're puppets on a string to him? I could see it going either way, right? Nina, I feel like Nina is going to be eventually interrogated by Lunge/Eva. I worry that if Eva sees Nina, she's going to be like, oh, is he into some young floozy or something like that? Because Nina's pretty and kind of is blonde like Eva. I could see Eva being jealous of Nina. I don't ship Tenma with Nina because there's that age gap. And honestly, I see them more as friends and associates. I don't ship Tenma with anybody, really. Mora was the closest person I shipped him with, and he died like 2 episodes into his character. So I don't see Tenma shipped with anybody right now. He's on he's a lone wolf on a mission, right? But Nina, I could see if Eva gets involved, especially if Lunge interrogates, she's gonna be like, this young floozy, and I'm gonna be like, oh God, no. Although Nina could stand up to Eva. Nina's got some fire in her. She could probably handle it. We also established with Nina that similar to Tenma, we'll put the little arrow here, she had 6 months of training. She had the same training as Tenma, seemingly, where she could shoot a gun. And the funny thing is that Tenma told her not to use a gun and she's been the one to use it, and so she wanted to get trained to go out to her. And Tenma are like on the same pathway, and they think similar. They have similar ideologies. It's kind of funny. Like it's interesting, right? Because when I think of the monster splitting in two, you could say the monster is either, we've compared Tenma and Johan and kind of how they influence people and how they're similar in some regards and polar opposites in others. But the same goes for Johan and Nina. So you have Nina and Tenma that are kind of similar, and they are both foils to Johan in different ways. So it's interesting, right? But so we have Nina with Lunge. Obviously, I think General Wolf is probably maybe going to get interviewed by Lunge as well. Now, the curious thing is I don't know, because if Nina and Wolf get interrogated by Lunge, won't they talk about Johan? Lunge at this point believes that Lunge believes that Tenma has a split personality, which is the weirdest thing. Lunge thinks that Tenma is like Johan in having this split persona, which is so bizarre, right? And so I'm curious if Wolf and Nina get interrogated by Lunge, is this going to change Lunge's perspective, or is Lunge going to believe that they don't know what they're talking about and that they're confusing Tenma and Johan as different people when they're the same? I don't know, but we know as the audience, there's no way Tenma could have made those messages and did the things he did because of where he's in the story. So Johan definitely exists. It's just, it messes with your brain how Lunge is so persistent in this belief that Tenma has a split personality. It's so bizarre. Again, if Nina and General Wolf get interrogated, I want to see that happen. I want to see that. And General Wolf, for all we know, he may be dead by the time Lunge finds out about him. He may be dead by that point. And then what do we do? And then I'd worry about Nina. I'd be like, girl, get out of there because you're probably going to be targeted. So yeah, interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, so Tenma asks them to go to Calvin Street in Frankfurt. I'll kill Johan of my own free will. Oh, God, that look. That look from Tenma where he's just got the gun pointed at him. And it's just like, Tenma just looks, in this episode, like when he's not concerned about Nina or Dieter or the people he's helping, he just looks so done. He's like, I've had the shit beat out of me the last couple days. Just so y'all know, I'm not having any more of it. So yeah, so the guys that were bald, they are in fact skinheads. They're like neo-Nazis. They're not fun. And they basically put Heckel and Dieter tied up, gonna burn them to death. Glad they survived as well as they did, because I was a little bit worried about them. Right? And then we show this woman with the baby, with Aisha's baby, that she's now probably going to have to take care of. The son. We never found the son's name out. There was a part of me in the last episode that was like, I wonder if the child's name is Johan. And I was going to be like, but we never find that out, right? But yeah, I like that she helps Tenma to connect the dots about Dieter and the city. And then he goes to find the, let me get out of here. Go back. But he helps to go find the old men and talk to them, right? Now, the old men, I find them interesting in this episode because they kind of create this little interesting double standard, right? And Tenma's saying no one else will be sacrificed. Before we get into the old men, I want to talk about that. My video stopped. I had to restart it here. But Tenma saying no more sacrifices. Okay, I'm going to relate his character to another character from another series, and it's probably one you've not read, so I'm going to try not to have too many spoilers, but there is a Chinese Donghua series called Heaven Official's Blessing, and the main character of that series, his name is Shi Lian, and Shi Lian is this he's like this prince of this kingdom, everybody loves him, the people all revere him, and then through several mishaps, he kind of has a fall from grace, right? And without spoiling anything about him too much, his character has this personality where he wants to be the hero. He wants to save everyone, thinks that he can do all these things. He's like, nope, I got it. Don't worry. I can handle it. And then as the story progresses, you figure out very quickly, no, he can't handle everything. There are things that go outside of his control, outside of his sphere of being able to handle, and things just spiral for him. And even though he's this amazingly wholesome cinnamon bun character, he has to do some things that are unsavory, and he ends up falling from grace. And I get that same vibe when Tenma said, no more sacrifices, I'm going to save everyone. This whole episode, I was just getting like a slight headache, being like, this is Shilian all over again. Because Tenma wants to take control of the situation and be the savior. But in Heaven Official's Blessing, one of the themes is you can't do everything. You can't save everyone. And Tenma is trying to do that so badly. But I'm like, is it going to get to a point where you can't do that? Because Tenma is even more limited than Shilian in that series. Tenma's not a prince. He's a great character. He may be a prince in our hearts. But Shilian, wasn't on the run as a fugitive like Tenma is. So Tenma's pretty limited. So him saying he's going to not let any more people die is like, okay. All right, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works. And I'm so amazed that these guys in this episode, when he goes to find the Turkish men at the restaurant, they're all like, well, there's rumors all the time there's going to be a fire, so what's it to us? And I'm like, I would take this seriously. And then they like dog on the woman for being a prostitute, and Tenma's like, hold up. They're like, hey, girl's staying ahead of the game, leave her alone. They're like, she's just doing what she can to survive. And you all know exactly what that's like. So don't dog her about it. And they all think he's suspicious. And it's not until Dennis, random extra character of the day, MVP Dennis, shows up. And Dennis is like, no. He's like, we should take him seriously. Because the woman's like, fine, I hope you all burn. Do what you want. And then this man that walks up Dennis, they all seem to respect him. But he's like, yeah, Tenma may seem suspicious, but we've had Japanese people help us before. Like with, what does he say? He says, like, General Nogi. And Tenma's like, I'm not brushing up on my history. Who's General Nogi? He's like, oh, you haven't heard of him? He was a Japanese man who saved the Turkish Navy when it was in the Pacific. So that's curious. And this guy has clear respect for him. Likely was in the Navy when it happened, or was in that unit that was saved by General Nogi. So he has respect. He's like, we can't judge all people based upon what nationality that they are, because there are exceptions to everything. It was a cool moment. I really liked this man, and he's the one that convinces the other guys to all get together. And I like the contrast of the dirty, grungy restaurant where all these guys are kind of gathered, figuring out what to do. And then we cut to, I love the mirror effect of the window where we see the woman sitting at the table, and we pan out to see the flowers and the red wine, like the 20-year-old wine that he got out as mass amounts of people were going to die in a literal Holocaust. Awesome. And so he's like, yeah, he just has these two women here. I kept wondering, the one woman kind of seemed like Nina if she had like cut her hair short. And then when Nina shows up, it's like, awesome. But yeah, he's just sitting there wanting his appetizer, just eating there. Has a very Denethor feel from Lord of the Rings, where he's sitting there eating as the people are dying. Has a very similar vibe. And Tenma's ordering them all to split up and try to put out the small fires, right? And then Nina shows up. I freaking love Nina. Her character's growing on me more and more. She's such a badass. Like, I love her. She's young and still kind of naive, but she's also not afraid to, like, do shit and get what she wants. I'm like, good on you, Nina. Because she just, like, when she dumps his, like, halibut into the table, it's like, oh, is this your favorite? You're an asshole. Like, I love it. And her pointing the gun to his face. Curious that Babyface doesn't die. I'm very curious that Babyface is kind of a loose end, right? I'll put Babyface on here. He's kind of a loose end along with General Wolf. Very curious, right? And he lets Nina go. The fact that he peed his pants because he was so terrified of her is genuinely hilarious, because she asked where he was and what the message was. And he was freaked out because he saw in her eyes that she would literally kill him. And he attributes it to her being like Johan. I'm like, okay. So again, there's a monster in everybody, right? And maybe Babyface saw that monster in Nina just for a moment. But yeah, so then Tenma, he's like, where's Dieter? Sees Heckel. I'm like, Heckel has that damn rug that he's been working so hard to get this whole episode. And then Babyface is like, I just need to change of pants so I can eat my steak while watching this main dish. Again, all the lighting in this episode, so many shadows. Again, I love this episode plays with the idea of shadows and shadows of ourselves, right? Which again, if we're talking about there being two personalities, you have yourself and then the shadow of yourself. Kind of, adds to that. But man, all these characters going down in these dark cellars and in these warehouses, I'm like, you're just making me stress ever so slightly. I'm getting stressed, I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad that we learned some fire safety in this episode. You don't just reach out when you see a flame under a door. Don't just reach out and grab the handle. It's probably really hot. Take that fire extinguisher or whatever, knock it off instead. Good on you, Nina. Good on you. And then she manages to save them. God, I'm glad that Dieter's okay still. Dieter's had a lot of near-death encounters. And I'm like, boy, you're raising my blood pressure. Just ever so slightly. I love Dieter. Dieter and Nina. And they finally get to meet. Dieter and Nina get to meet. And they've all three of these characters, Heckel and Dieter and Nina, have been influenced by Tenma. Right? Nina's been the only one of the three influenced by Johan. But these three have all been influenced by Tenma and worked together to save the people. And the fact that they all came together because of Tenma to save the people is interesting, right? It's very interesting. But I'm glad Dieter is okay. I love his character so much and how he's growing as a person. But God, the use of wind in this episode as being the scariest thing in the world, the use of wind, y'all, I'm just, it's insane to me how that's managed to happen. It's so baffling, the use of wind. It's mind-blowing, honestly, to see that in this episode. It just like when it stops and it gets all still and quiet, and then when it like blows through with Tenma and Heckel, it was very, very effective. I thought that was a very effective tool in this. But yeah, Tenma is just healing everybody. He has no time. Like, they all do like what they did for Schumann. They're like, oh, come on, have a drink with us. And he's like, nah, I got to help more people. And you see the lamps and stuff on. I like it. And I like that even Tenma, his bedside manner. Again, all these people in the Turkish district are all going to be thankful for Tenma that he saved them. So Tenma's doing his little deeds along the way and influencing everyone in the villages and places that he goes to and meets. He's like influencing them in a positive way. Again, quite the opposite of Johan. What we make of that, I feel like we've yet to totally see. But yeah, then they go to the warehouse and Heckel talks about the chemicals being left there. Of course, there's the creepy shadows. And then she's like, why are you following me? And Dieter's like, we have to put out that fire. I promised Tenma. And she's like, oh, Tenma, you know him too. Honestly, when they went into the darkness, I thought Johan was going to be in there. I thought maybe Johan was going to be in the warehouse, but he's not. He's not there. We don't. He's such an ominous presence, and we've only seen him like in person once or twice. We've seen him in person twice in this whole series. And in flashbacks as a little kid, we've seen him several times. But then we have the idea, when they saw the gasoline on the ground, I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, get that out of Dieter's face. He's going to get burned. And then, man, that rug Heckel had being like the Deus Ex Machina. That rug was a Deus Ex Machina, right? It saved the day. But what I like about this is that the mangaka is very clever in that this rug being this symbol of wealth for the Turkish district and something from I like the idea that something of the Turkish people themselves saved them. Something that was a relic of their own culture was their savior. I mean, granted, it was Dieter that put it out, but the idea that it was a rug that symbolized the Turkish culture was the thing that saved them. I like that a lot. I like what that represents. But also, make note here, Dieter being a leader in this episode. I mean, not totally. He's still an 8-year-old kid, but it goes back to Hartman saying that he couldn't see Johan and Dieter. I'm like, I don't know. Dieter makes some pretty good judgment calls in this episode and makes some decisions against Heckel that I'm like, no, it kind of makes him a leader. Hartman, you may have been wrong. I don't know. Maybe Dieter is more Tenma than Johan, though. I don't know. But her coming out and telling the man that Johan wouldn't want this. He's killed your leaders and his men, and then he left. And he left a message afterwards. And that guy twitches, his eyebrow twitches. He's not the type of person you think he is. He's something more complicated than that. Yeah, and it's more complicated. She says he's something more frightening than that. So she describes Johan as being complicated, frightening, and having a great amount of sadness. Seems like a recipe for disaster with a character. He's suffering in an abyss of sadness, to the point where she's about to cry. So she determines all of this by what she knows of him in the little that we've seen of him, that he's more complicated, frightening, and sad. Maybe she's getting her memories back of them as kids. Maybe it's Celine Dion's blaring and it's all coming back to her now. But that's fascinating that from that message, she gets that. Again, I think she's making some assumptions about him, for her own means. Whether or not that's going to be true or not. I mean, I could see Johan being like, oh no, you're right. I do have 2 personalities. Or I could see Johan being like, that's what you thought? No, I'm just the way that I am. Whatever. I've seen someone in the Discord also share what kind of also lends to this as well. As I've seen some people in the Discord someone shared a picture of Light Yagami from Death Note with a picture of Johan in the back. Again, I'm trying not to be influenced, but y'all keep sharing this stuff without blackboxing it. So, I mean, that lends too, because that also lends to the idea of no, because if you've not seen Death Note, skip the next minute of this, because I'm going to be talking a little bit about Death Note. And that is that in Death Note, at first, Light tries to separate himself from Kira, the killer from the man, right? But by the end of the series, you reveal that no, they are the same person. They've always been the same person. It's just the Kira personality was kind of hidden beneath the Light one and only bubbled up and revealed itself at the conclusion of the series that no, they are in fact one of the same people. There is no separation, right? They've always been the same person. It's just that's a complex personality. It's a human personality. I feel the same way with Johan, that Johan people may be trying to separate his personalities to make themselves feel better or to make themselves feel justified or to feel sympathy for Johan. But at the end of the day, he's still the same person. It's not something supernatural. He's literally a monster. He's literally the same person that he's always been. And that kind of ties too to the idea of when Tenma's like, oh, well, it's Kinderheim's fault that he's the way that he is. It's like, no, he's always been this way. There's just been different factors of environment that maybe has nurtured that or fostered that even further, but it's always been there. So lots to think about with Johan after this episode, right? Lots to think about. And then this conversation with Dieter, because Heckel's like, I'm just gonna leave with this rug, and Tenma's like hell you are, and he's like, fine, I'll take you. And she says, your friend is named Tenma, right? And she's like, I know someone called Tenma. And I like that Dieter said, is he a brave person? And she said, yes, but he told me to never hold a gun. And so he thought you shouldn't kill. You mustn't ever kill. And then Dieter says, no matter how evil they are. And she says, that's right. Never do what I'm about to do. So yeah, Nina's saying you're young, you're innocent. Don't become like me. I'm about to become a monster because I'm going to pull this trigger. Don't do what I'm about to do. No matter how evil they are, be better than me. Be better than what I'm about to be. And don't do it. And this guy's like, okay, now's my chance. And she says, close your eyes and don't look. And that's when Tenma says, don't shoot. And the moment he said don't shoot and like he drops the lighter, I was like, oh my God, the fire's going to start. It's going to kill them all. They're all dead. What are we doing? No. Why? And thank God. Thank God. And Dieter is like, oh, it's Tenma. He did. And he takes the rug from Heckel and puts the fire out. Thank God. I was like, oh my God, Heckel. I was like, Heckel, run, you old bastard. But no. So yeah, I like that Dieter is kind of like our linchpin in this. He is a source of good, right? And Tenma is trying to keep both Dieter and Nina from becoming monsters. And Nina is now invested in trying to keep Dieter from becoming a monster. And Dieter is probably going to be invested in Tenma not becoming a monster. So it's like they're all trying to keep each other from killing someone. But at the end of the day, Tenma and Nina are bound and determined to kill Johan, right? And Dieter is supposed to be our pure one, right? That's not going to have any of that happen. I'm glad they used the rug, though. I'm so glad. And then the cops start showing up, and Nina tells them all to get out. And probably the most satisfying shot is when we're up there with Babyface at the top of the hotel at the restaurant, and he's not even touched his food because the fire never happened. And he's like, it's gone cold. And I'm like, that's what you get. You deserve worse, but this will justify. And so then, yeah, Nina, she manages, she goes, I like that she's like, hey, I'll give you my testimony. I got to go and talk to these guys that are fugitives for a second. Hold on. I was like, girl, should you be yelling? Are they going to come after you and hear you talking to these guys as they're escaping? Like, what the hell? And Tenma telling her, being like, don't shoot anybody. Like, Tenma's like, what did I just tell you? It's like, don't kill anyone, girl. And then she said that she saw Johan's message. And he's like, I'm going there too. And she's like, I understood why he told me to aim for the head. Johan isn't one person. There are two Johans. So her theory is that Johan told her to shoot him in the head to kill him and the other Johan, the monster, that she had to do it. Again, we don't know if that's confirmed or not. We have no clue. But it's an excuse for her and Tenma, right? A reason why they need to kill him. And then Tenma seeing the message, the monster inside of me is about to explode. Again, a very delicate situation. Do I think that there are two Johans? There's two of us all, right? If that's the case. I think that if there are two Johans and there's two Tenmas, two Ninas, two everyone, it's just, do you open up and let the other side in? Do you know it's capable? Do you let them prevail and take over? That's the thing. Like, which persona, which side of us do we adhere to? The side that we feel is just, or the side that is not? So, and justice is subjective for everyone. So it's opening up a lot of doors. I'm hoping and I'm trusting that the series is smart enough that it's not just going to make Johan out to be a bad guy with a split personality. I feel like this series is smarter than that, and it's deeper than that. And I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt that it's doing something like this to be a symbolism of trying to justify for Tenma and Nina to feel like they're validated in their actions. But I don't want to be spoiled. I don't want to be confirmed or deconfirmed. We'll find out as we go. But this episode, I'm glad we got some resolution with the Turkish district and the fire. I'm glad we got some resolution with that. What a journey, right? So we do have the loose thread of what now. What are Tenma and Dieter going to do? Dieter is clearly not staying behind with Heckel, that's for sure. But what is Heckel going to do? What is Dieter going to do with Tenma? What is Nina going to do? Is Nina going to meet back up with Tenma? Where do we go to from here? We'll see, right? And will we see Johan soon? I don't know. We keep getting teased. When will we actually see him? So, I don't know. I do want to make a quick shout out to thank Edgar and Larry Manning. They are in our philanthropy tier on Patreon, where they've donated $10 for the month to help support me in doing what I love to do, and that's talk with you all about these series. So thank you all so much for your support. I really, really appreciate it very much. So I hope you all enjoyed this discussion. I really appreciate your kind words and comments. But yeah, episode 18's next. We'll see what happens, right? Start a new arc and go to from there. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yes, I'll be back very soon with episode 18 of Monster. Bye.